Dance all night, play all day, don't let nothing get in the way. Dance all night, keep the beat. Don't you worry about two left feet, shake it up. Shake it up, ooh yeah. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter from deep in the bowels of our underground lair, where we've got more sense than a Joe Biden fundraiser.
So we got one? You know, it's funny. How would you have liked to have been one of those protesters who paid $500,000 to get in there to heckle them?
Oh,
apparently
goodness.
That's how it started, that they all
Really?
got heckled for about 15 minutes, yeah.
Wow.
$500,000? How can you donate $500,000? Isn't there limits?
I don't know how that works, because you hear about those, like, what are they blue plate fundraisers, or is that what they're called? I don't know.
Whatever, the things where it's $1,000
Yeah.
for stuff you can put on the grill.
Right. Exactly. I don't know where all of that money goes, because, yeah, there should be campaign contribution limits, so I don't know exactly how that works. But you couldn't pay me $2.5 million to sit and go listen to Lizzo for 20 minutes. Oh.
Well, maybe I'd do it for 10, but, you know, I don't know.
I don't know.
It's gotta
Do I
be-
get earplugs?
I tell you what, I do know the song, by the way.
Yes.
I do know who sang it, too. I'm pretty certain I do.
Okay.
It's not the trains, it's not the planes, it's not the trucks, it's the cars.
It is the cars.
There we go.
Shake it up. You've been done
I
pretty
think
well
I danced
this
to that
season.
at teen night one time, huh?
Yeah? You've done pretty well in season 8.
Yes, season 8. I've been studying. So that has to be an 80s song.
Oh, yeah.
Early 80s, maybe.
Yeah.
I think I listened to the Casey Kasem top 40 of that a couple weeks ago or
I
something.
love the cars. I miss the cars. Unfortunately, you know, they're not all with us anymore, and so there'll never be a reunion tour. You know?
Well, I tell you what, there's not too many of them with us anymore.
Yeah, well, there's still plenty. When you're looking at musicians from the heyday of...
Well, they're still around. I don't know if they're, you know, in 60s and 70s now, if they're up to performing anymore.
Depends, yeah.
You know, I don't know. I wouldn't. Sorry, I wouldn't.
I don't know. Some of the bands can still pull it off. Steelheart, band from the 80s, you know, super high vocals. Do you remember that band?
No, I don't. Unless I remember like a song of theirs.
Super high vocals.
Like AC/DC
Everybody
high?
Loves Eileen. That's one of their songs.
Come on, Eileen.
I get
Is
them
that not
confused with
right?
Firehouse. Firehouses Don't Treat Me Bad. It's not. Anyways, guy's still got it. Like, he can sing like that. Sebastian Bach can still sing like that.
See, here's why I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
It's hard to make. If you think about somebody who say their heyday was in the 80s or 90s.
Yeah.
How do you still sound as great as you did then? I mean, just somebody.
Some of them do.
Somebody's watching you for
Absolutely.
the first. Well, or else they're Milli Vanilli.
No, I mean, some people just can take care of their voice, you know? I mean, there are some people that are older, you know, in their 60s, 70s. It's probably a little tougher in your 80s. You know, I think Paul McCartney, his voice is struggling a bit.
Ask Keith Richards back in the 80s how it was when he was in his 70s.
Well, thank goodness he didn't have to sing a whole lot.
This is true.
So, yeah.
They're Milli Vanilli-ing it. That's what they're doing.
I don't know. A lot of those older rock bands, I think, hate that kind of thing. You
I can
know?
understand. Well, you know what I don't like? Here's what
Yeah.
I don't like. I don't like a bunch of dancers and a bunch of choreographed stuff. If you have to do that, it tells me your music stinks.
Yes.
Well, that's just what it tells
Absolutely.
me.
It should be about the music. And there should be a production level to your show. You know, it's okay to have pyrotechnics. It's okay to have an awesome light show and, you know, like a whatever behind you that's projecting video. But, you know, yeah, when you got to have 25 dancers out on stage.
That's why I hate the Super Bowl halftime show. I won't watch them. They're awful.
Awful.
Why do you need all those little turds out there? Why?
U2 had a good one. Prince had a good one.
Nothing tops Michael Jackson.
Michael
That was
Jackson
the best one.
had a
ever.
really good one.
Paul McCartney was okay. He hadn't gone down yet at that point. But
Prince's was, I think, every bit as good. I'm not a Lady Gaga fan. Not really into her at all. But her halftime show was pretty good.
See, I don't remember watching.
See, but like lately, yeah, it's just been crap. And you'll never see another rock and roll act. Why don't they do country? I don't know. That's huge,
especially with the America. NFL. I mean, how many Southern
Toby Keith never got to do the Super Bowl.
Well, I'm going to tell you. First of all, number one thing you'll see is box checking.
Well, right. And that's part of it now, yeah.
You got to have the box checking.
Yeah.
So if you had a man last year, this has to be a woman this year. If you had
black
a white
woman.
person that last year, you have to...
I don't know if are they going to have any more white people?
No.
I don't know if they will.
Who was the last one? Was it the Gaga lady? Who
might be.
I mean, I don't remember. I don't even know. Couldn't tell you who's in the top 40.
I don't know.
No idea. Cyndi Lauper. I have no clue.
Yeah.
No idea.
What was it last year? Was it Beyonce and Jay-Z? That might be their last one. They might be hauled off their own little Epstein Island pretty soon. The way it sounds.
With P. Diddy?
Yeah.
With P. Diddy? Who the hell? Hold on. I'm gonna look here.
Yeah, you're gonna pull up the list of halftime shows.
Well, I just want to see who the hell did it. Usher.
That was
Usher?
this year. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was this year. I didn't care for it.
Guest appearances by
Yeah. Let's hear you read these names.
I'm gonna pop Will.i.am.
Yeah.
Lil Jon. Ludacris, I know him.
Yeah.
Alicia Keys, I know who she is. And Sonic Bam of the South. Boom of the South. I'm sorry. Who the hell are they?
I don't know who he is, but I've heard of all of the other ones, I guess.
Last year it was Rihanna.
Oh, Rihanna. Yeah. I couldn't name you one of her songs.
Year before that it was Pepsi. No, it was Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg.
See what I mean? It's never going to... Never. This is what it's going to be forever.
Jay-Z did it in 2021.
How can you have Jay-Z do it in 2021 and then his wife do it in, 2022?
Yeah, I don't know. Jennifer Lopez and Shakira the year before that.
Yeah.
Maroon Fizzle the year before that.
Maroon 5 did the... I don't remember that.
Justin,
they're awful.
Who's the guy?
That's the last Whiteys that did it.
Justin Timberlake. Lady Gaga did it in 2017.
I do remember Justin Timberlake doing it. That
Coldplay?
was pretty awful. Coldplay did it, huh?
They're all right.
Yeah, they're okay.
Katy Perry. I mean, excuse me. Bruno Mars did it one year.
He's pretty talented.
I don't remember that, though. I don't remember.
I don't really remember that either.
Jay, question for you.
Yeah.
Just to get into, we're just going to bounce around today, which is my favorite kind of show. Sad news today, Joe Lieberman passing away, or yesterday.
Yes.
I got one thought on Joe Lieberman before we get to your thoughts.
Yeah.
I hate saying this, but when I heard Joe Lieberman, the first time I ever heard him really talk was when he was debating Cheney.
Right.
I knew who he was before that, but I had never really, I never really paid any attention to him. And you know what he sounded like? This is not a criticism.
What?
He sounded like the dad on Alf. Alf! All I heard was old Willie Tanner. That was the only thing I could hear. It's like, guy, who does that sound like? It's like, when I realized George Bush Sr. sounded like Mr. Rogers. It was just this aha moment, wonderful day in the neighborhood. And then I'm like, who does that sound like? And a couple nights later, there's Bush, Willie Horton still in jail. And I'm like, it's Mr. Rogers. And like I told you before, the best part, I thought he looked like him.
He does.
Yeah, I thought they kind of looked alike. So it's like, Willie Tanner. That's what I think of. I think of Joe Lieberman, Tad on Alf.
Yeah. I've gone back and I've watched a little bit of that occasion. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
the one thing I remember.
There's some TV that it's okay that we don't remember.
The one thing I remember from Alf was when he and the Willie Tanner and Alf did a music video for Elton John's "Saturday Night's All Right."
Oh my goodness!
You don't remember that? Apparently. Oh, it was awful.
That's worse than the Edith spinoff from the Dukes of Hazzard. What happens when Hazard County's oldest virgin goes off to L.A.? Wow, that's interesting. Who thought of that? Okay.
I must have missed that one.
Well, it was like early on in the Dukes, because remember Enos comes back after Cletus is there for a while.
Right.
I liked Cletus. I liked him.
Yeah.
Enos was a good guy too.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, thoughts on former Senator Lieberman?
Goodness, he definitely was a Democrat, but an old school Democrat.
Yeah.
He was a Democrat that loved to spend money, but loved the Constitution. He was someone that, as I remember him, was for free speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press. Somebody that wasn't crazy like a lot of the Democrats today. And I'm a little unsure this whole no labels thing he was involved in. Know.
Well, remember he left the Democratic Party, but would still caucus with them,
right?
Which was strange.
Agnes
King and Bernie Sanders have done the same.
It's like, why leave if you're just going to caucus with them?
Yeah, I don't understand it. It makes no sense. Yeah. But I think Lieberman, being principled.
Yeah.
Somebody, and I think you're right. I think the whole liberal but not crazy label is a good one to put on him.
Yeah.
I think he's a strong supporter of Israel.
Absolutely.
Of course, he was Jewish, but but I just think of just a good, honest, decent person. I think of as Joe Lieberman. Yeah. Didn't vote when he ran for vice president. I admit I did not vote for that ticket. Which is fine. But I mean, I cannot vote for somebody and not hate them. Also, so
right.
I mean, there's that. What I really remember was when, the people around him abandoned him. I just remember all the Dems, sort of throwing him over the bus, which was just goes to show you what happens in that party when you veer off the party line.
Yeah, there is no room to have a freedom of opinion in the Democrat Party.
It's not possible.
Nope.
So, I don't know. I keep hoping that, sanity will return. I understand there's political opposition, and that's fine. Honest debate is needed and I hate one-party states. I don't like red states and blue states. I don't like that. We're a 50-state country, and but we need Joe Lieberman's for that to happen.
Yeah,
we just do. Sorry, I mean we should be able to agree on freedom of speech. You wouldn't think that would be too tough of a concept,
right?
But really the way that's been attacked, just in every which way, is. Makes you really wonder what will happen if certain people don't win this November.
Yeah, well, it's not looking too good. The freedom of speech is definitely on the ropes, as are, I believe, all 10 of the Bill of Rights are on the ropes right now. And
I think some of them haven't existed for a while, but yeah,
right. It's been a progressive slide into obscurity, but. At the same time, I mean, we are dealing with a new breed of Democrat that is okay with fascism, okay with communism, okay with dictatorships, as long as it's disguised as democracy.
Well, remember, they don't know what the definition of that is.
Right.
I mean, if I walked into a Democratic caucus and asked 100 people what fascism is, I wonder if any of them could give Trump.
Yeah,
that's probably what they would say.
Yeah,
I don't know that they are.
But even with a more rational person, you would probably say it's a government led by a strong man who, pushes down on the people. But that's not it.
No, it isn't even close to it.
No.
But it's the problem is how these terms get thrown around. It's like calling everything racist, calling everybody.
Right.
It deludes to the point where nobody knows what that means anymore.
Fascism is exactly the direction we're heading in with the World Economic Forum and the public-private partnerships that are being formed. You have communism, which owns the means of production. You have socialism, which controls the means of production, and then you have fascism, which is a cooperation with the means of production, and they're
disguised as capitalism. It really isn't.
Government makes the rules, and then business does what government's unable to do.
Yeah, it's the old when business and government get together, the rest of us grab our ankles. I mean, that's the ultimate. I mean, it really started in this country, in my opinion, with the New Deal. I mean, if you really go back to the NRA, it was all about getting business and government in bed together.
Right.
Join the NRA. It was a club to, they hog chained farmers to the federal government.
Yes.
Which, of course, did nothing but get the corporations to buy up all the land, and they get all the handouts. I mean, all the benefits go to the absentee landowner now when it comes to farming.
Right.
It's part of what's broke up the old democratic farm and labor, which really doesn't exist anymore. They don't vote anywhere near each other, and labor is private sector labor.
Yeah.
Often votes one way, and public sector labor often votes another.
Yeah.
That coalition's gone. That doesn't exist.
Hey, I've got an idea. Do you think this would work? What if a bunch of people went out to all Bill Gates' farms or farms owned, farmland owned by the Chinese government or whatever in this country and squatted? Could they control that land?
No, I bet the defund the police movement would not go on anymore. We should
with all the squatters everywhere. Could we squat on farmland and control it?
Maybe. I mean, I'd work the land if I could eat it all.
Yeah.
I don't want Bill Gates's bug burgers or whatever he grows, whatever that idiot grows. The guy
he's
done nothing but make mediocre software.
He's growing choice cows for filet mignon. You're not getting it.
Yeah, of course he gets it, but you don't.
Yeah.
That's the typical elitist.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, you ought to lead that effort, Jay. And I'll tell you what. I mean, if you really want to look at land, bought up by China, the scary thing is how close it is to some U.S. Military bases. I mean, that's the real scary thing. Well, why are they
I think South Dakota now has kicked them out, haven't they?
A handful of states controlled by the right people have.
Right.
Nevada, it's an issue. I know Governor Lombardi is trying, but he's not getting a lot of cooperation. But the federal government owns a lot of that property
in Nevada,
as well as other states too. I mean, go into Wyoming, Montana, Idaho. The federal government owns half the land in the state. Well, I don't know what you might say. Well, they're red states. Well, I don't know how much control those governors and stuff have over that.
Yeah, I don't know. When you're dealing with federal land, I don't know if there's a way to take any of that back from the feds or how that works.
Well, the way Joe Biden protects the border, maybe he wouldn't protect that land either. I don't know. Call it Ukraine, and maybe he will. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's it. New Ukraine or Little Ukraine, right?
Yeah, West Ukraine.
See if he comes to your aid then.
I don't know. I doubt it.
Yeah. It's weird. In Minnesota here, they're not, from what I understand, they're not giving land over to the Chinese, but they are giving it back to the Native Americans. Have you seen that?
No.
The part of the new legislature, some of the bills that are floating around are looking at giving some of the state parks and things like that back to Indians.
Oh, that's
Native
wonderful.
Americans.
Get rid of our state parks. That's a great idea.
Right.
Who exactly?
Well, the Democrats, of course.
No, but I mean, who gets the land? Is it the same people running the casinos?
Tribes, yeah,
I mean,
yeah. You know, the tribes will get it.
The mob bosses.
Right.
We call it what they is, the mob bosses.
You better be careful. You frequent some of those.
Oh, darn right I do. I get kicked. I once got kicked out for saying hello.
What?
Yeah, I walked into the security guard. It was a native guy, and I said, "Hey, how are ya? Hey, how are ya?"
Really?
I know it's terrible. That was culturally insensitive. Sorry. You know, it's kind of like that Mexican.
Even worse, it was in bad taste.
Yeah, kind of like that Mexican fire chief. I mean, you had those twin boys,
Yeah.
Jose and Jose B. Sorry. All right. So James, let me move on here. Let me move on to something else. We got to address what's going on over in Israel and Gaza right now, and I want to say comedy show that is the Biden administration, but this isn't funny.
No, it's not funny.
And I don't know if Biden and Harris, do they ever talk to each other?
I think when they're in front of the cameras, they make it look good.
Well, who's the lady who's the spokesperson? Pierre John Canida or something?
Yeah.
Okay. So I witnessed all of this in about an 8-hour span. Okay. I saw the U.S. abstain from a, quote, non-binding resolution calling for a ceasefire. This is the third time this has been thrown. We vetoed the other two.
Right. And now we didn't.
Why did we abstain? Now, the White House spokeslady, who was one of the toughest jobs, I think, you got to be a good storyteller and a lot of other things.
Yeah, it's a tough job, and this lady is terrible at it.
Was asked just repeatedly why this change. And I'm going to, it's on YouTube if you want to see it. This was Monday or Tuesday, the 26th. And I would try like 4 minutes of just rambling, psychobabble, incoherent. You'd never understand it. I mean, she just went back and forth and back and forth. And okay, so why did we? And then she tried to claim, politics is nothing to bull crap.
The White House has been clear on this.
Kamala Harris, Israel can't go into Rafah. Well, that's the hotbed of Hamas.
Yeah.
That's where Hamas is setting up camp. What do you mean they can't go there?
I don't remember you having authority over that land.
Well, I mean...
last time I checked, you don't have a voice.
You know, here's... Look. The dumbest thing this administration can do is try to play both sides here. Literally, that's the stupidest thing they can do. I mean, I'm sorry to say it, but it is just dumb. And I know Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't know him personally, but I've seen him on TV. And he couldn't give two craps about Joe Biden's reelection.
No, he really couldn't.
And quite frankly, I'm sure he'd prefer somebody else in the White House. I'm just guessing.
And somebody else being President Trump.
Pretty much. I'm pretty certain that they would see pretty eye to eye. They're going in. They're going in very soon.
Yeah.
That's my prediction.
Yeah.
And this is all a song and dance by the Biden people to either put Israel out on an island and try to play both sides here.
Yeah.
Which I think will result in, I think it'll be way, worse, them doing that. Mm-hmm. Like I said, you got to call these. There's a loud minority in the Democratic Party that is anti-Semitic.
Yes.
It's mostly young people who don't know what the hell they're saying. They're repeating the bull stuff that their liberal college professors gave them.
Yep.
Or they're Holocaust denying, whatever. They're idiots.
Yeah.
Okay? And the idea that the president's going to kowtow to them, call their bluff.
Yeah. They should. If he were strong, he would.
He ought to say anti-Semitism has no place in this party. If this was against blacks, if this was against gays, Democrats wouldn't hesitate to say that, and they should say it.
Yes.
But when it's Israel, there's this, I guess it's kind of okay to kill some of them. You know, maybe it's half Israel's fault that they got bombed on October 7th. Maybe they deserved it. I mean, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
So it's going to happen. I mean, I'm guessing in the next few weeks there's going to be an escalation of this.
The warmer it gets, the worse this is going to get, because it's not solved yet. And this has been going since October 7th.
And they've been trying. I mean, the negotiations been trying. Israel's wants the hostages freed, which some are Americans still, by the way.
I know.
Anyone care there at the White House?
No, they don't. Just like they've let those journalists and that ballerina sit over in Moscow or in Siberia or wherever
Brittany
they are.
Griner they went out and got.
Right. Bring back our national treasure.
Bring
please.
back the gay lady. Make sure she comes home.
Right.
But, my point is that this is going to escalate very soon.
Yeah.
And you're going to see, you want to see, and the president and the vice president in particular, I don't know what she's doing. Not sure she could find Israel on a map. They're going to get it from all sides, and they're just going to backpedal and backpedal and backpedal. And my guess is we're not far from them throwing Netanyahu under the bus.
Yeah, we're probably not.
And I think behind this, because what tells me this, I think Netanyahu has told Biden, look, dude, we're going in.
Yeah.
We've tried, and you wouldn't negotiate with Al-Qaeda, so don't tell me negotiate with Hamas. We've given this time. That's the hotbed there. We're going to knock it out.
Yeah.
And I think they know it. They know it's coming, so they're walking back the support for Israel. And Israel doesn't need militaries, but they're totally militaries. They could bomb anybody in that area they want to.
Yeah.
You talk about Israel does show restraint as far as I'm concerned. They could take over the Middle East if they felt like it militarily.
Absolutely, they could.
I think, but it's gonna be ugly, really, really quickly. I'd say within 30 days, it's gonna be pretty ugly.
But it's gonna get ugly here too, and that's a huge problem. I
don't know why it should be. I don't know why it is. I've actually seen polls, where people under 30, the majority of them are on Hamas's side in this country, which
that's because
I don't know that I believe, but, I still think it's a loud minority. That's my personal opinion, but
yeah, I mean, they are loud. That's for sure.
Well, they're well financed, and they're in a lot of places, and Democrats, they're not used to getting heckled.
No,
they're not used to that, and I think they're having some trouble. What do you want to bet the Democratic convention is a 1968 repeat? I'm going to tell you something, because I'm going to tell you this war is going to go on. It's going to go on all year. I mean, this is not stopping, and
it will go on all this year. You're right.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Yeah. Israel can win, but again, this is a terrorist group they're going after.
Right.
Not another country so much. So terrorism will continue to a degree.
Right.
But I think this is why they can't agree to a ceasefire. A ceasefire just means rest and refit. That's a total pro-Hamas thing.
And most of the Palestinians side with Hamas too.
Oh, well, I mean, they're victims of propaganda, I think, to a degree as well.
Oh, absolutely they are. Yeah. In the schools and everything else, they're raised that way. Yeah. think a martyr's death is better than.
I don't know. I'm so happy I don't live over there.
Yeah.
There are days I'm so happy to be in America, and I'm just so happy I don't live over there.
Right. Well, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, and the protests are getting bigger and louder. They haven't stopped or shrunk at all.
And by the way, all this, we need humanitarian aid. Yeah, you know what's going to happen? Hamas is going to rip that off.
Yeah.
It's not going to go to the people who are. Hamas is going to rip it off just like Zelensky and put it in their 401k.
Yeah. Just like Haiti. You want to see what's going to happen in the Palestinian territory? Look at what's happening in Haiti right now. It's run by thugs.
Hey, you know that firsthand.
Yeah, I was there. I mean, not recently, but I was there after the earthquake, and I saw what happened, and it still has not recovered. And now it's in the hands of drug lords and gangs, and the president had to resign when he was out of the country and can't even come back in. It is now being run completely by the gangs, and that is exactly what is happening in the Palestinian territory because Hamas is running that whole area.
The whole southern part. The whole southern part.
The whole Gaza Strip.
Which Rafah is the biggest area.
Yeah.
I mean, look, they're going in there. It's that simple. So, I mean, I don't know what to say other than it's gonna get worse. It's just speaking of getting worse. You filled up your tank recently?
Yes, I have. Thank you, Joe Biden.
I filled up my car one day.
Yeah.
And like 4 days later, I filled up my wife's car.
Oh.
It was 35 cents more expensive 4 days later.
Yeah.
Now, I get, for some reason, this time of year, the prices spike. I don't really know why. I guess probably because we have more demand and less supply. That's, it'd be Economics 101. What do you... This is another issue where I feel this White House has just literally no answer to. I mean, the answer from Joe Biden is to go spend $80,000 in an electric car that gets you, 20 miles, and then you have to recharge it.
Right.
That seems to be his answer. What? How much? Let me just ask a dumb question. How much does energy independence, how big of an issue do you think that is? I mean, do you think that, I understand that immigration and quote unquote the economy, which is kind of a big thing. That's kind of a big, I kind of like to break down economy because if you broke it down to jobs, inflation, energy, you'd get different numbers.
Right.
How big of a deal is energy independence going to be?
In the election?
Yeah. Do you think that's an issue that
it doesn't? I don't think it moves a lot of people.
I think if the election were in May or June, it might.
Gas prices can move people.
I guess I more mean gas prices because that affects energy independence. Yeah. Part of that is gas prices.
Yeah.
Jobs too.
I think so. Obviously anything that ties into our pocketbooks is going to be a big thing. And everything is going up again. Food's going up again. I mean, they say, inflation's going down. Well, okay, it's less than it was, but things are still going up in price. You don't have a handle on the inflation
Nothing's
problem.
gone down. If inflation has really gone down, interest rates would start going down. And I think there's a lot of unconstitutional pressure being put on the feds to lower rates to help Biden, which is just, you talk about something that's totally absurd.
Yeah.
But I think there is a lot of pressure to do it. But I'll tell you what, the only thing that's going to lower that is But I was thinking, President Trump's team really needs to hire you and me to make some commercials because I would take gas prices and make a bunch of commercials out of them.
Yeah.
Gas prices in 2019, gas price today versus now. Price of a new car, price now. Interest rates in 2019, interest rates now.
Yeah.
What a powerful commercial. I mean, you really don't have to say much else.
Right. I mean, look at everything across the board. Look at crime, look at inflation, look at gas prices, look at energy independence, look at immigration, look at crime, look at just the state of the world, whether it's Israel, whether it's Ukraine versus Russia, whether China with Taiwan.
And I don't pay much attention to what so-called experts say.
Yeah.
But I do pay a little attention to a handful of quote unquote, I don't want to call them even economists, but Stephen Moore is a guy I read a lot of his stuff.
Yeah.
I like Larry Kudlow.
Yeah.
Art Laffer.
Yeah.
He goes back to the Reagan years.
Right.
There's a handful of people that I kind of half trust on what they have to say. They're not always right, but they're
right.
They're right. They're pretty good at predicting stuff. And Stephen Moore is all over that by May, gas is going to be outrageous, and that'll be the big thing we're talking about. And blah, blah, blah. And he may be right. I hope not. I mean, I hope he's wrong.
I drive enough that I'd like that not to be the case.
But it'd just be another thing to add to the woes of this administration. I mean, what else? What's their answer? Their answer is to, like I said, go spend $80,000 on an electric car. And you do have some backlash a little bit among even Democrats right now. Biden's trying to walk back his electric vehicle, so we all know what that's about.
Right.
It's about him losing Michigan.
Yep.
It's not about anything else other than that. But, there are Democrats saying, hey, look, quit pushing cars people don't want. It just isn't working.
No.
Whatever you want to say. Electric vehicle sales are like 4% of vehicle. I mean, they're a blip.
Nobody wants them.
And it's just the Flower Pot Club. That's all that's buying them. So I don't know. I mean, electric vehicles have been around for 50 years. They're not new.
Flower Pot Club.
Who's buying? Who the hell's buying? I don't know. It's it's the people who drive it with pride, that they're saving the world. Or the people who actually think they are, which is funny.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, add that to the list of, I actually saw, can't remember who told me this, but the lady who was killed by that illegal alien, what did Biden call him? Undocumented person, or
is it you're talking about Laken Riley?
Yes. That's going to be this year's Willie Horton
or Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, like what a commercial that could make too. With a nice Willie Horton reboot. I think that's what we need, the Willie Horton reboot. But you gotta love Biden. He says the illegal. And I actually perked up when I heard that.
I did too. I'm like, wow, he actually used the illegal word.
I mean, I almost clapped. I was sitting watching. And then he screws up the lady's name.
Yeah.
And then 3 days later apologizes for saying it. I'm like, God, you couldn't possibly handle this worse. God, I mean, it's like watching glitter. It's watching a bad movie.
Yeah, he is a weak president. Weak.
He just
weak.
I mean, he just doesn't. I mean, what was the last time he went out and addressed something like crime and just say, this is unacceptable. Don't blame it on guns. Don't blame it on MAGA Republican. Don't turn it into a campaign speech.
Yeah.
went out and said, we need to prosecute criminals. And you're a district attorney. Your job is to prosecute crime, not decide what laws you're going to enforce.
Right. To actually enforce the laws on the books.
I mean, I'll tell you what. Can I openly speculate?
Yes.
What would it take? I go back to when Rudy Giuliani was the mayor of New York City.
Yeah, he sure cleaned it up.
It was great in the 90s. Can a Rudy Giuliani type today win a big city mayor race? Now, forget identifying as a Republican or forget that for a minute.
I mean, maybe Miami.
Okay. A city that voted for DeSantis.
Right.
Possibly. I don't know that they have the big city crime problems that like a Chicago has.
Right.
But
right.
because okay. There could be some big cities in Texas that maybe it could happen to.
Maybe.
Not Austin or Houston, but maybe other ones possibly.
I don't think Dallas either, but
you don't think so? Well, I don't know. Maybe crime just isn't. I think with the immigrants running across there, though, I think you could get to a point where,
it's possible.
But I think they prosecute them in Texas. I think that's a little different.
That's true.
I think the Attorney General is pretty tough.
The Attorney
down there.
General in Texas is amazing.
Yeah, I think he prosecutes everybody.
Yes,
but
he does. He holds a record for the amount of times that one state has sued the administration.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, what would it take? What would it take to get a Rudy Giuliani? And not him, but I mean, like, Lee Zeldin damn near won governor of New York. Speaking crime, lost by 2 points. I mean, he would have won in 40 other states against Hochul.
Right.
So, I mean,
she's terrible, for one.
Awful.
And then
horrid.
And then with all the problems in New York,
I mean, and he was outspent like 10-1. I mean, what would it take to get a law and order mayor of Chicago or Detroit or, well, not Chicago. That's a machine
it's not
city.
happening in Chicago. I mean, you saw they were crying about all of the crime and the blacks being killed in South Chicago, and they elected a guy that was worse than
Dropfoot or whatever.
Dropfoot. What's her name?
What is that?
Lori Lightfoot.
Lightfoot.
Yeah.
Whatever. Same difference.
Right.
Yeah, where did I get drop?
I don't know.
The hell's a drop foot?
I don't know. But what? Anyways, you didn't think they could do worse than Beetlejuice, but they did, and they got this Brandon who. He fits the name, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Let's go, Brandon. He doesn't have a clue what he's doing. And Chicago is actually getting worse. And I don't know. In Minneapolis, are you ever going to have anyone sane again?
Well, I mean, here's my question is these people who live in these cities don't seem to like what's going on. Yet they keep voting for people who are worse and worse.
Right.
And I think my answer to that is, do they not have choices on the ballot? Is it that they don't?
Well, sure they do. It's a ranked choice voting city, like Minneapolis is anyways. And Chicago is probably not, or whatever.
I don't know what they are. I have no idea. But I mean, is it that no one runs with that message? Is it that no one wants to be that candidate? Is it? I mean, it's like
no.
It's like you've got take New York.
Yeah,
New York's not happy with anybody. Biden's approval rating stinks in New York.
Yeah.
Hochul's totally unpopular. Eric Adams is
yeah, and I thought Curtis Sliwa had a good reputation because of the work he did in the city to cut down on crime, but they weren't going to vote for a Republican.
So it's all just Coke or Pepsi. That's what they're voting for.
But not always. I mean, look at was it Chicago in the run up to mayor? Okay, there were these two Democrats. One was Brandon, And the other one, I don't remember his name, but he was more of a tough on crime Democrat.
Okay. So a 90s Democrat.
Yeah, lost. To this guy.
Is that where the big money went? I mean, is there a reason? Yeah.
Probably, just like here, when we have Mary Moriarty, who was running for the Hennepin County attorney against
a defense lawyer,
and she was a defense lawyer. She was running against an actual prosecutorial lawyer.
Can't remember her name, but I liked her.
And she seemed like she was going to be a lot better.
Yeah,
and actually enforce the law instead of this lady. But the Democrat Party got behind Mary Moriarty, and what did everybody vote for? Mary Moriarty, despite the fact that everybody knew she was going to be soft on crime.
And she's lived up to that.
Oh, she is totally lived
just
up to
horrible. That. She's horrible.
She is awful.
I mean, when Keith Ellison takes over cases from you because you're not being tough enough,
yeah, there's a problem. That says something.
And I tell you what, I mean, as bad as Ellison is, I think those are moves he doesn't want to do. I mean, you're an AG. You don't want to go in too many times and undermine another elected official's work.
Right.
But when he thinks you're not tough enough, there's a problem there.
Yeah.
So, ouch. I mean, cases. Probably. I mean, we would have. So, I don't know. I mean,
so I wonder how that's going, like between father and son, and if the son supported Moriarty.
The sons are always worse.
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of like second generation politicians are kind of like if you met somebody who was rich but they made their money.
Yeah,
they're usually the coolest people you can meet.
Yeah.
When I worked for Best Buy and the old CEO, Dick Schultz.
Yeah.
And I didn't know him well, but I met him he was still the CEO when I started there.
I heard an interview with him recently.
Oh, okay.
I really liked him.
Real good guy. Real down-to-earth guy. The guy wore he's like 5'5" and wears like plaid shirts. I mean, just totally, anti-corporate, just probably why he got out of there. But I mean, but the kids and grandkids of people like that who will never have to work, they do nothing all day but spend money or join causes, or something like that. They're the worst people on the face of the earth. And I'm not arguing for an inheritance tax. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying something has to be. We're going to have over the next 20 years. I mean, think of how many pro athletes kids and how many actors kids. We've got more millionaires who have never earned a cent.
Yeah.
That are going to be movers and shakers in this country. Kingmakers of politicians.
I mean, just when you think you're getting rid of somebody like George Soros, his son takes over and he's worse.
Yeah, absolutely. Look what happened to the Ford family. I mean, Henry Ford, one of the most innovative Americans you could find.
Yeah.
And then it gradually got worse with every generation after that. Now the Ford Foundation is a DEI, anti-everything that Henry Ford pushed.
Yeah.
As far as innovation, capitalism, earning your money, blah, 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 I mean, just anti, whatever you want to say about Ford. I'm not a perfect guy, but I mean, what happens to those generations that, never?
Well, it's going to get ugly, and because when you see it in the upper echelons, like Soros's kid, like Sam Walton's kids, like Rupert Murdoch's kids, it's definitely happening down in the lower echelons, especially because of what they're doing to the schools.
Yeah. It's too bad. I have so much regard for Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah.
For him, not the people behind him or some of the people around him.
Yeah.
Oh, God, horrible. Speaking of head-scratching things in the news,
Yeah.
who is Nicole Shanahan?
I don't know. I've never heard of her. I mean, until the other day. That was supposed to help his ticket.
Okay.
Apparently.
I've said a lot of nice things about RFK Jr. on this show.
Yeah.
And I do think, weighing on the issues. I mean, I don't know where he stands on everything. But again, another, I would say, a 90s Democrat, another honest liberal, I would call him.
Yeah, he's a little too crazy on the global warming stuff.
That's the one issue I can't get past.
Yeah.
He's great on immigration. He's great on the First
COVID.
Amendment. He's been deplatformed, and
yeah.
I mean, he brings up a lot of other points about he rips government agencies, rips the CDC, rips the CIA. It's great. I think it's great. I mean, he sounds like Trump half the time. But one of the things he's really gone after is, social media platforms and buying elections and rich people doing that. He's not wrong about that. But who's Nicole Shannon? She's the ex-wife of a Google executive.
Right.
She didn't earn her money. It was given to her in a divorce settlement.
Yeah.
And were you scratching your head as a pick?
Yeah, I don't get it. And
it proves, by the way, what I said a few weeks ago. I was right that Jesse Ventura and Aaron Rodgers were floated out there to get RFK a bunch of interviews, and it worked. Whoever had that as a strategy, he was on every network 5 times that day. But
yeah, it was a great strategy. However,
probably got him some signatures he needed.
When you come back with such a lackluster pick,
what do you think the thinking was?
I don't know. It's like usually you want your pick to be right up there and be buzzworthy with the names you're floating out there, and it just wasn't. It's like, okay, who? What?
Well, do you think that? She was married to a Google co-founder, Sergey Brin, whoever that is. Quite a bit older than her.
Yeah.
She's 38 years old.
Oh, wow.
Do you think she calls herself a disaffected Democrat?
Okay.
Probably like RFK a lot.
Yeah.
But, do you think, this is the only thing I can think of. One, she's going to bring a lot of money and donors.
Yeah.
And RFK needs that. But she could bring that without being the Veep candidate.
Yeah.
They could contribute to his PAC without
absolutely
her being there. So, and then actually, they have given a lot of money to his PAC. That's got to sever now, or he can get sued. They can tie him up in court. The Biden team has created an entire division to go after Robert Kennedy.
Yes.
Which shows you who's panicked about Kennedy, like I said.
Right.
He's not pulling from Trump as much. He's pulling from Biden, if he's pulling from either one of them. I mean, you have to go after voters, and that's another thing about RFK. I don't understand who he's going after exactly. You can't go after people who don't vote normally. You can't rely on them to show up. But here's my thing. Is this an example? And I don't think Kennedy is a DEI guy. I'm not saying that. Certainly didn't sound like it. But is this box checking? Is this, I need a young person, I got to go after Gen Zers, I've got to get on these platforms, I've got to get, I got to pick, I got to check X amount of boxes. Is that this thinking? That's the only thing I can think of that makes sense here, because
it's possible.
To me, Kennedy needed to have some pizzazz here.
He should have gone after like a Tulsi Gabbard type,
Another
disaffected Democrat.
Yeah, I think Tulsi. I think we know who she's voting for.
Yeah, I do too.
I bet they talked.
Yeah,
I bet they did.
They may have.
I mean, I'm pretty sure. And I'm guessing that they did. He could have gone after disaffected Republicans too.
Yeah,
he could have gone after a Larry Hogan type, not him, but a
Liz Cheney.
Well, no, I don't think her and RFK would have. You heard RFK talk about Ukraine lately? I don't know that a Cheney would care for it.
That's true.
But I know what you mean, though. An anti-Trump Republican is what he could have gone after.
Right.
But I thought he'd pick... The elephant in the room with RFK is his speech impediment.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking he needs someone who's a better orator, who's got a little experience, got a little weight to them.
Yeah.
I just kept thinking, now you got somebody, they're going to get vetted. If this campaign turns into seriousness, okay, this pick like that could backfire big time. Like, who's the guy with Perot? Stockton?
Yes.
I mean, we walked over to Gore's podium. Remember that? I mean, a pick like that could. I mean, not saying she's going to do that, but I mean, it's kind of like, I was kind of blindsided by it. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
I think it's pretty inconsequential.
Yeah, it probably is. Because I still think he's going to have a tough time getting ballot access in a few key states.
And I don't know if a VP candidate ever can win a race for you. They can certainly lose a race.
Absolutely can lose it.
So I don't know.
Yeah. You know what I want?
Yes.
I want Trump to pick his person sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And I think he might.
You don't think he'll wait till the convention?
No, I think he'll do it way before that.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't think so. There's no reason to wait on it.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think so. You know what you do? You do it when Biden's got something coming up.
Right.
You just do
He's really good at that,
too. Trump's great at it. Yeah. Just totally stealing from...
I know.
So, I think I would say maybe within the next 45 days, I think we'll know.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I think Trump's not going to wait that long. I think there's some disagreement still within this camp.
By mid-May or mid-May.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, there's no reason to... You get the person, there's no reason to hold back on it right now. So
I think that he should maybe...
I think he likes the chatter about it.
I think so, too. Maybe he could delay the VP pick, and he could start out with like, oh, here's who I'm thinking for Secretary of the Treasury. Here's who I'm thinking.
Could do that. I tell you, when he was asked about if Tucker Carlson would be his VP, Trump goes, well, I got to think about him. He put Tucker over pretty good. I guess I have to consider him. And I remember when Tucker was asked about it, he's like, "Oh God,
yeah, I know.
Get me away from that." Yeah, I don't know. I think you're going to see it sooner rather than later, though. That's my gut feeling. Is that I think Trump loves the chatter, but I think he's. I think he's going to take Biden's thunder some weekend and he'll just be the 24/7. Or here's another thing. If there's like a court date that he has, go ahead and announce the Veep that morning or something. And then all they're talking about is the Veep for the weekend, and just totally...
Yeah.
Trump doesn't get enough credit for how much he runs circles around people sometimes. Yeah. And so he'll figure it out. He'll do it right.
Is the Democrat? No, theirs is later than the Republican.
August 22nd.
Yeah. Because that'd be a great time to do it if it was before the Republican convention.
It would be so awesome to do it then. Let's do it right when Biden's going to speak.
Right.
Hold a press conference. Thing is that CNN and MSNBC wouldn't cover it.
Right.
They wouldn't cut out to it.
Well, he's not going to get any voters there anyway.
No, I mean, if 6 people will miss Biden's speech, then So Jay, what happened to you at the Capitol now? We got to hear this story. What you went down to the Capitol for what reason did you go down?
Okay, so I went this last Monday, which would have been the 25th of March. And we had a podcast, what was it, 2 podcasts ago, talking about what the Democrats in the state were trying to do as far as they passed a Human Rights Act, the Minnesota Human Rights Act, last year, and there was no religious exemption given for. They made like a new category of protected person. Before, gender identity kind of fit in with all the LGBTQ stuff, and now they separated out gender identity into its own thing. But in the gender identity portion of it, there is no religious exemption. Now, there was a House Judiciary Committee meeting, and Representative Harry Niska tried to put that back in. He had an amendment. The leader of that committee, of the Judiciary Committee, said it was no oversight that it was left out. Now, for anyone that's a novice and maybe just joined us from the Democrat side, or maybe you're a kid growing up and your parents are making you listen to us and you got hooked, and how could you not? The First Amendment of the Bill of Rights in the U.S. Constitution states that we have the freedom to a free exercise of religion. It is also in the Minnesota Constitution, and since being in both of those, there's really nothing that the government can do to force a religious organization to do anything. Now, what happened with the Minnesota Human Rights Act is that this opened up churches, Christian schools, other faith organizations up to lawsuits if they weren't willing to hire if they weren't willing to hire transgender people, if they weren't willing to marry transgender people, let transgender people use the restroom of their choice, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This amendment would have taken care of all of that. It would have put the religious exemption back in, and it was voted on party lines, and we discussed this. Voted on party lines. All the Republicans were in favor of it. All the Democrats were against it. So it didn't make it through because there's a bill going through to make corrections to some of the language in the Human Rights Act. So the bill then goes to the House, does not have the amendment in it. There was a companion bill in the Senate, and this is now since we had the podcast. The Senate Judiciary Committee was set to take it up, and a bunch of people were going to go down to the Capitol and try to speak about that. There was ability to sign up to speak to the Senate about it. Senate canceled the judiciary hearing. Or no, sorry, they didn't cancel it. They struck it from the judiciary hearing completely, and so never took it up. Well, they brought it up at 1 a.m. in the morning on the 19th, and again on party lines, Democrats would not put religious exemption into. They would not take up this amendment, and they voted it down. So, fast forward to last Monday. We were asked, being pastors in the state, were asked to come to the Capitol on Monday. And so there were about 100 of us that in total by the end of it. There was a press conference run by Harry Niska, and excuse me, I don't remember. I should have. I think Alpha covered it. Let's see here. Anyways, they had this on Monday. They had this press conference, and so there weren't 100 pastors in the room. This was for the press. There was probably 30 of us that got into the room, and standing up. Most of us were standing up front behind Harry Niska, and he got to talk about the bill and took questions from the press. The press kept trying to ask questions of the pastors that were there. Can one of the religious leaders come and speak up as to, how they feel about this or that? But they did a good job of making sure we didn't get pulled into the fray and all that. So that was good. And the whole deal was, after this press conference, which finally nobody has really covered this other than Alpha News up to this point.
Surprise.
But we had a Star Trib in the room. I think Minnesota Post was in the room. There were a few different outlets. So they finally covered this. But of course, all the questions from the press were, well, can you name an example of how this would even be discrimination, or how has this already affected the church? This has been law for a year, and well, there is a lawsuit currently from a trans group with a employment or a hiring decision against a religious school. That's all I know about it. That's all that he was willing to talk about it, but. I know that is currently going on. So, anyways, we go through the press conference. It was good. There's the House is meeting in the afternoon, and so they are going to declare urgency to be able to get an up or down vote on the amendment from the full House. And again, there's 100 pastors that have come. And we're in the halls. We're right there at the entrance to the House of Representatives when everybody came in. And we were out in the hall praying and doing things like that. And then we went upstairs, and a number of us got into the actual House box, for viewing. I was just outside, in the room outside the Senate or the House chambers. I wasn't able to quite get in there, but I was right at the doorway, so I could hear what was going on. There were a whole bunch more that were out in the hall that couldn't even get in. But the House, when it finally came up, Representative Niska got to talk about the bill.
This is in front of the full House now. Just the committee.
Right.
Okay.
Full House. Because they wanted to see if they could get an up or down vote on this amendment that day. So they declared urgency on it. And once again, on party lines, the Democrats voted to table it. So that it doesn't ever have to come up for a vote again because it's on the table, unless the Republicans keep trying to take it off of the table. And there's actually a Democrat that's willing to break ranks on this.
They haven't broke ranks on anything.
Yeah.
Nothing.
But now we have the entire Democratic House that will not stand for religious freedom, and they're breaking their oath of office to do it. And willingly and knowingly breaking their oath of office to protect the Constitution. They haven't done it, and they're not going to do it unless people are putting pressure on them. Maybe in some of the hinterlands of Minnesota, we can get one or two of them to crack. if they're up
The
against
problem
a tough
is,
race.
those are all gone Republican now. I mean,
Yeah.
I know, how
Well, not
many
all of
races
them. I
are
mean,
there?
There's some of them out there, on the fringes of the metro, maybe, or it's
That I have a DFL representative in Maple Grove. I didn't realize that 37B. I can't remember her name.
huh.
Maybe I should write her on this.
Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm writing Cedric Frazier
Good luck.
and Ann Rest.
Good
And-
luck.
and the
She's
governor.
she's just changed with the Dems.
Yeah, she has.
That's all she's done.
I mean, I don't know. I've probably met her. I don't know how many times for the first time.
Huh. In her mind,
Yes.
what's she? God, she's got to be in her 80s, 90.
Yeah. I don't know.
I hope I have something better to do in that age rather than hang on to power.
Yeah.
I think it's pathetic when somebody can't
Right.
let go of something. It's just childish.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I don't like rock bands touring in their 80s.
I'd rather have rock bands touring in their 80s than Joe Biden.
Everybody retires. Generals retire. Horses retire. Boxers retire. It just comes a time where you've done everything. And I always remember the words of David Cassidy.
Yeah.
And he said, when you've played the biggest arenas in the world.
Wait, David Cassidy?
Yeah.
Like the Bay City Rollers?
No, David Cassidy from the Partridge Family.
Oh, Partridge Family. Sorry.
When
Yes.
you played the biggest arenas in the world, and then you did it the year after, and the year after, and the year after.
Yeah.
What do you do to top that? What do you do next? And so for me, I kind of feel like the same way. Like once you've been a senator and you've won, and then you won, and then you won, and then you won, at some point, don't you, isn't there the baton you can hand it to somebody else?
Well, not when you're able to get great stock tips and make millions of dollars every year.
But they should have made that in their first term. I mean, if they were any good, they would have made it right away.
Yeah, I don't know. Secret deals with China, insider trading. It's a pretty lucrative way to.
Oh my God! All of it's insider trading.
Yeah,
I love how they always talk about they're going to ban they're going to ban Congress from owning stock. They're gonna, and that always gets voted down.
Right.
It's always funny how that happens.
Yeah.
You have term limits. Well, who gets to decide that? Well, the same people that term limit themselves.
right.
It's like, why don't we get to decide it? How about let the voters decide?
Yeah.
Why don't we do that instead?
Well, you would think so, but so yeah. I mean, I just
Anyhow,
if you're a person of faith and you're considering voting for a Democrat this year, know that they hate you. They don't respect your faith. They don't respect your views, and they don't care that you're free or not. And just an aside, let me take this just a step further and speak to the Christians that were there. I have to do this gingerly, but I'm disappointed that there wasn't more prayer. I don't think we're ready yet. And if the Christians aren't ready yet, I don't think the rest of those of us who disagree with what's going on are ready yet either. There's so much, instead of praying, they were talking and visiting, and it was almost like, hey, what a great occasion to come and see people I haven't seen in so long. How are you? We need to get serious, and maybe I should save this for the for the end here.
No,
but
we're getting to that.
But
save it. Save that for a second, because I'm going to ask you a question or two
Yeah.
before we end the show.
Yeah.
Do you think what do you say to there's millions of Democrats in this country, good, honest people who are Christians.
Yeah.
What do you say to them? Like, what's your message to them? I mean, why do they continue to vote for people that are so anti-faith?
Yeah.
And they don't have to vote Republican. But I mean, but why is it that there are a lot of Democrats who are just openly hostile, not just to Christianity, but we've seen it to is Jewish people. And I mean, why do they allow so many attacks on them? Why are they afraid to speak up?
I don't know. And this is what's weird. You look at Democrats who call themselves Christians, and they're willing to vote for some of the most vile people on the planet, as long as they're Democrat. And then you look at Christians who call themselves Republicans, and if the candidate isn't the next coming of Jesus Christ, they won't support him or her either. And you have this disconnect within both parties. It's like, we're not voting for a pastor, we're voting for a president or a senator, or who's going to espouse the views that we hold well enough to be able to do the job.
And aren't we all imperfect?
Yeah.
Can we just say we're all imperfect?
Yeah. But then on the other hand, you have Christians that are voting for people like Keith Ellison and Ilhan Omar and Nancy Pelosi and
AOC,
AOC,
Sheila Tlaib.
Like, how can you come and agree with their positions on things when it contradicts everything that you believe? I mean, really, is it just, well, they're not Republican, a good enough reason? I don't believe it is. I mean, both
are they people
ends
with
of the
just no principles? Or, I mean, I don't know. We speak of all Christians like they all think the same thing, and of course they don't.
No, I mean, you have all manner from the super left, which I would say are more apostate Christians. That they might believe that Jesus Christ came
they
and
might
died,
call themselves a Christian, but they don't.
They don't practice it. Yeah, you have the people that don't practice the faith on one side, and the people that kind of practice it in the middle. But it's like, well, I really don't want to sacrifice much to make the world better. Or if it's easy enough, maybe I'll do it. And then you have the people on this end who are, they really believe what they read, and they
faith is a driving force in their life.
Yeah. So you have the cold, the lukewarm, and the hot, and it is not all the same. But you have some people, I believe, that are lukewarm, that are over here voting for people on the left, and you really have no business doing that. The apostate group, the cold group, I understand it, because you're not following the faith anyways. It's just a label you have on yourself to fire insurance, I guess. You have the group in the middle, that I don't know. I don't see how you can vote for people that are not, who the way that they would govern is not congruent with your beliefs.
I don't know. I don't have no idea. Yeah, it's funny. My mom was a Democrat. She was a very staunch Lutheran.
Yeah.
It was a different era.
Right.
And I don't know. I wonder what she'd think today.
Yeah, I mean, that was before the ELCA stuck rainbow flags in every ELCA Lutheran church.
Yeah, and some churches have folded.
Yeah,
under this banner of tolerance.
Yeah, the Episcopal Church, the Methodist Church, the ELCA Lutheran churches. Yeah, I mean, you've got like the Missouri Synod Lutheran churches and some Free Lutheran and things like that haven't gone down that road. But and there's a lot of pressure with the Catholic Church right now from this Pope to.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
I don't know. You've got a bunch of crazies though that are in the cardinals and the whatever that because
did the Bible change over the last 10 years?
No, but you've got all these bishops that have been made cardinals coming out of these big cities but there's always been an element of people that want to take the church down, and so they try to get people into the leadership of the church to change it.
So maybe it's a coup from the inside.
Yeah. In a lot of cases, I think it probably is.
It'll destroy the Catholic religion.
Yeah.
It'll just splinter into factions if,
Right.
that's what'll happen.
Which would be strange, being the Catholic Church they believe is the one universal church.
I know, but I mean,
Yeah.
what's going to happen when the Catholic Church starts endorsing, transgenders, which would be
There will be a split because there's enough conservative priests and so forth that will not do it.
Yeah, there will be. I mean, gay marriage could have broke the church. It could have broke over that.
Yeah.
It just keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. There's just no end to it.
Right.
All right, Jay. Why don't you just say? I'm interested in what you were going to say.
Okay.
Let's save it for now, everyone. Styling and profiling, jet flying, limousine riding, wheeling, dealing, son of a gun. Let's hear your message, Jay.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. There's a passage in Revelation where he's talking to the Laodicean church. And he's saying, how I wish that you were hot or cold, but you're neither. You're lukewarm. So I'm going to spit you out of my mouth. You see, we're entering a time where you have to pick a side. We cannot afford to be lukewarm. We cannot. The people who are cold, they're goners. Well, I mean, there's always a chance for redemption, right? And that's what we pray for. That's what we hope for. But those of you who are in the middle, and I'm not just talking about Christians here. I'm talking to anybody that considers themselves conservative, liberty-minded, a lover of the Constitution, but maybe center-left. How can you go along with these people that are pushing abortion till birth, that are pushing open borders, that are watching the trafficking of children, the trafficking of drugs, are people being killed from a fentanyl crisis, murdered in cold blood, are millions and billions of dollars being sent to some sinkhole in Ukraine where we're never going to see a return on it, abandoning our allies. I could go on and on and on and on. Your freedom of religion. Are we just going to stop and watch it happen and be okay with it? Are we just going to sit back and go, yeah, well, they don't mean it. It's never really going to come down to that. And then when it finally does come down to that, are we going to get whipped up? Or are we actually going to take notice of these things and stand? We have to. We are in a time where we have to be white hot. We have to be pedal to the metal. It's about liberty. It's about religious freedom. It is about freedom of speech. It is about freedom to protect ourselves. It is about being able to keep law enforcement at bay unless they have a warrant stating what they're looking for and where they're looking, about not having cruel and unusual punishment, like a 460-some million bond in New York. It's about not having the government being able to spy on you and being digitally quartered within your house. It's about not having the courts sway justice and tamper with juries and tamper with court cases. I mean, if any of you who say that you love freedom, you love God, you love the law, think that you can ever vote for Fani Willis again if she's not disbarred, I don't know. I don't know what we have in common because I can't reason with that. You know, if any of you who are people of faith, people of liberty, people of common sense and justice, think that you can vote for a Tim Walz again, think that you can vote for an Elon Omar again, think that you can vote for a Cedric Frazier, an Ann Rest, you name it. Think that you can vote for those people again? So that they can sit and shove things down your throat that you know are wrong and you hate? The only thing that you got going is that they're not a Republican. You got to get fired up. And Republicans, you cannot choose to stay home anymore. You're just as bad if you stay home and you don't vote. If you have a tug on your heart to run for an office and you don't run for an office, you're just as bad. Because these are things that we have to do to set the ship aright again. That we have to get things back on course. And if it's laid in your lap and you walk away from it, you have nobody to blame but yourself. So we've got to do something different. We've got to stand up. We've got to fight. And I don't mean that in a physical confrontation kind of way, but I do mean that when it comes to speaking out, writing letters, calling, emailing, making videos, being a citizen journalist, swaying our friends, swaying our family, talking to people at our churches, making sure that people are aware of what's going on and not being moved. That is what we must do. The time is short, and if we don't make our stand now, it will never come back. And I'm not being full of hyperbole here. I am being dead serious. We need good people to come and do what we all have to do at some point, and that is sacrifice our comfort for the good of our nation. If you're interested in that at all, you give us an email at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. At commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. Let's talk. Let's see what we can do to make sure that you have contributed what you know how to do. But there's no more getting together and just visiting and having meetings and not contributing. We have to be focused, and we have to be hardcore focused on the end goal. They are, and they're not going to quit until they put us under or we stop them. I prefer the latter of the two. I don't know about you. We love you, Minnesota, but now it's your turn to get to work.